Hi, I'm Matt Lively. I teach the Pet Portrait Workshop at the Virginia Museum Studio School. I am doing it virtually due to our closing of the school because of the coronavirus. When painting a pet or drawing a pet, it's typically a specific pet, like a specific cat. You can't just do a blob with 4 legs and pointy ears and call it a cat. We're looking to do an image of a specific cat or a specific dog. A lot of times when I'm painting, I call something a dog because it has 4 legs and no antlers, so it is a dog. But if I'm trying to be very accurate to a specific dog, I want to get that information correct. So I'll work from a photograph and basically do a painting of the photograph. I like doing that because it helps me with finding new colors and finding new textures that I find in the photograph. And I take comfort in the fact that it's different from my normal studio paintings, which I never know what will happen. When I'm painting a dog or a cat from a photograph, I always know what the painting will end up looking like because I have the reference photo. So I'm able to experiment with materials and try new things, and it's kind of fun knowing that it's going to end up looking like the photograph in the end. There's shortcuts to working from a photograph that I can show you. It could be considered cheating, but it's the way that I do some of them when I'm looking for absolute accuracy and when I take the photograph. I basically transfer the photograph to the canvas, and I can show you exactly how I do that. So when you're photographing the dog, you want it to be outside preferably, and you don't want to take the photograph, robot, sit. You don't want to take the photograph from right here because then you only see the dog's head. Robot, come here. You only see the dog's head and you don't really get the whole dog. And we want the whole dog here. So if you can compel your dog to sit and then you get away from the dog a little bit, robot, stay there, stay. And if you can take the photograph from down here, then it looks like, a better picture. Like that. Outside is best, and outside in the shade is the best. If the light hits the dog too hard, then in the photograph it's all washed out. Make sense? Okay. So once you have a good photo to use, then you pick the best size that fits the painting that you want to do. In this case, this is my panel. It is a canvas stretched over a wood panel. And I have an 8.5 by 11 photo of the dog, but it's a little small, so on the printer I just blew it up a little bit and selected one that would fill up this canvas like this. So I can kind of feel around the back of the sheet and find the edges and make sure that every part of the dog is in there. And kind of fold it over to make sure that I can put it back on here, because I'm going to show you what I do next. What I do is I put graphite on the back of the sheet of paper, like this. And graphite is like what's in a pencil, but I just happen to have this this big chunk of it that you can get at art stores. And this graphite will transfer over to the other side when I use a pen to draw it. And the reason I folded it when we first got started is so that I could remember exactly where it was, and then put it right back where it was. So once that is graphited and you put it back, you can then just trace over the important lines that identify the dog. It's especially helpful to get the placement of the eyes. You don't have to stick to this, but if you don't know the dog and eyes give you trouble, then it's the math associated with that is you don't have to deal with it anymore. I don't always do them like this, especially if it were my dog, since I know about more what my dog looks like. But when it's an unfamiliar dog, I like to start with good math and then I can just play with the paint. Which is the primary reason that I like painting dogs, is I know what it's going to look like in the end. It's going to look like the dog. So I can experiment with materials, knowing that in the end it's not going to get too far out of whack. Now, of course, this same strategy, this same trick can be used for other animals as well. Other pets, I mean. Except for cats. Alright, so everything is pretty much in there that I'll need. And you can see that dog is transferred here to this panel. Now the rest of it I can wing it with paint. Typically I like to start with acrylics and acrylic earth colors, but I'm starting with oil earth colors here on this one. The reason I like to start with acrylic colors is because it dries quickly and you can get to painting with oil on top of acrylic a lot faster. But all of the things that I'm doing here as far as the colors go apply to oil or acrylic or whatever it is that you're using. I'm just kind of showing you how it is that I do things. So I have my reference photo handy up here and I'm just looking at it. It's deliberately black and white so that I don't get too confused with the colors too early. I'm just trying to map out stuff. So wherever there's dark in the drawing, I'll just slop paint. And specifically this earth color, because the earth color will bounce off or will cause my final colors to be more vibrant. So to differentiate the foreground from the background, you just switch up the earth color and use something different. I'm about to do that now. Alright, so since I don't like all my brush strokes, I'm going to smash it with a sheet of paper. That one, it dries it a little bit and then gives it a surprising texture sometimes. Not always successful, but it does something other than a brush. So now that the earth colors have dried, it's been a day. The earth colors are all dry. It's now to start putting on the proper colors. So I have the colors laid over here, and I'm going to start with the whites since I'm going to be using painting with wet on wet. I don't want the white to get messed up with some of the darker colors. So I'm going to use white, titanium white Payne's Gray, and a little bit of Prussian blue, just because there's blue in shadows, and a little bit of yellow ochre. And start painting the shadows in the dog. I'm going to use liquid, which is this, to thin it up a little bit, and it also helps it dry faster. Acrylic paint has the same sort of mediums that'll help it slow, and mediums that will help it dry faster. In this case, the liquid helps the oil paint dry a little bit faster. Alright, so now I'll start introducing some white to lighten up the shadows. The shadows are now sort of built in, and if I paint it while it's white or while it's wet, some of these will mix in, and I can always make it whiter and whiter. So I'll not make it pure white just yet, and sneak a little blue in there, Prussian blue. So after this settles up a little bit, which it is not, but for the sake of the demo, I'm just going to keep painting. I'd like to mash this down with some paper. So when you do that, I'm gonna put a close up here so you can see the interesting textures that it makes. I just do that. You don't have to do that. I was just doing that because I like it. So now I'm going to kind of increase the white here, let the white mix with the paint that I have that's already on there. It won't be pure white, but it'll mix with whatever's there. But that's okay because I can keep stacking the white. I've really just used one brush so far on this painting, and I will continue to use one brush until there's a reason to switch brushes. This one is doing fine, but I'm starting to discover some limitations to what it can do based on what I want to do. This is a filbert brush, and it's pretty small, and I think that I'd like to switch to a round brush so I can get some of the more minute details sculpted in. Alright, I'm going to make an attempt to mess with Robot's eyes. And unfortunately, or fortunately, Robot has two different color eyes. One of them is kind of a blue, turquoisey color. I'll make that attempt first. And you can only see the bottom part of her eye, really. So I don't really have to go all the way up. Just a little hint of it there. The rest is kind of dark. And then a little bit more to make it so that it's not just a flat color. Something else is happening there. You don't have to worry about it if you mess up, because the pupil is going to be pretty dark. So the other eye is brown. So I will kind of do the same thing over here with the brown eye. And I'll do the rest of it with the black, or the Payne's Gray actually. I don't use black. It dumbs down colors. So now that I have, I'm talking about the dark, I'll mix up some Payne's Gray and Prussian Blue to do some of the dark stuff. And the nose is pretty dark. So to make a more dramatic, make the dog more the focal point, this is where you can go in and isolate the background. And in this case, since Robot looks so proud, I will make a dark background for the most part. I'll start it all dark and then I'll make I'll paint the light in afterwards. So we'll do a combination of a couple of the colors that are already in here, which is Prussian Blue and Alizarin Crimson. And we'll just make it nice and dark. Okay. That dog is done.